If you want to know how Brandon Carter makes millions of dollars from his Instagram following, stick around and watch this entire 1-hour presentation from the Attention Summit where Brandon shares it all, particularly towards the end of this video. You're going to want to stick around for that. Here's his entire presentation. Enjoy.
This is my good friend Brandon Carter. Let's bring him to the stage.
What's going on, everybody? That's the appropriate response. How many of you guys know who I am? Just this one. Okay, almost everybody, as usual. All right, so it's funny, man. You know, when Ryan said that I wasn't ready, I could have got in early. I didn't want him beta testing this shit on me. You know, he had to prove he knew what the fuck he was doing. I just knew him as a goddamn skateboarder with ripped dream jeans and shit. I'm like, he looks like a pothead. I don't know if he does it, but he looks like, I'm like, all right, whatever, it's fucking shaggy. You know, you make that shit work first, and then show me what's up. And he did. But from my understanding, most of you guys want to learn how to make money from content. Is that true? Yeah. That's the main thing? All right, I haven't paid attention to any of the marketing material. I don't know what's... I just found that out. But it's cool. I know how to do that, actually. They couldn't find... There's not many people who can do it better. So, it's important for me to kind of tell you how it started, like from the beginning. So in 2007, my father killed himself. Like he shot himself in the head, blew his brains out. And I was 24 years old at the time. And I was in a position where it's like, now I gotta take care of like my whole family. You know, I'm like the man of the house. Right, I gotta be there for my mom, my sister, her kids, and everyone else involved. And I was kind of thrust into this position where I had to be like the man of the family. And prior to that, you know, I was just not really taking life like that seriously, like fucking around. I was a kid, right? But I got thrust into, you know, this position. And to make matters worse, who knows what happened in 2008? Yeah, the crash. A lot of you youngsters don't understand what that was, but that shit was crazy. There was people with master's degrees, no bullshit, working at Starbucks because we had record unemployment, the worst since the Depression. Like it's when I see kids complaining now about the economy, like, all right. But that was the position we were in, and at the time, social media was in its infancy, right? So it didn't seem like a valuable option, not even something I considered at that time. So what I did was, I was living in New York at the time, and I just started working like super hard. I would wake up at 4:30 a.m., and I was living in Queens at the time. So I would wake up. Anybody familiar with New York geography? Okay, so this makes sense to you. I was waking up at 4:30. And I would take the subway to Harlem from Queens and train people at like 145th, and then, as a personal trainer, and then shower there, take the train down to Soho, work security at the Prada store. I was a security guard there. I use that term loosely because I didn't guard anything or keep anyone secure. Like there was times I would open the door for somebody, somebody would come running. They just stole the purse. I'm like, damn, they got us. They got us, man. We gotta do better. True story. I wasn't gonna chase him because I was like, this shit isn't short. I'm not insured. Like, fuck that shit. Obamacare ain't start yet. And I was like, yeah, I ain't had no insurance. Like, fuck that shit. He wanted more than I wanted to take it from him. So I would work there for like 8 hours a day. And then after that, I worked for my friend's moving company. So this is 5 days a week. These were like 12, 10 to 14 hour days, depending on how long the moving was, right? And that was Monday through Friday. And on the weekends, I woke up, trained people, and then I managed my friend's barbecue restaurant in Astoria, Queens. It was a money launderer. I think he was a criminal or something. It's not around anymore. So anyway, we paid everybody in cash. Everybody looked like Luis. That's a compliment. Hardworking people. We paid them all in cash. But me and my heart. And anyway, but this was like 2 years of this shit, right? Like 2 years of hard working, because even though I went to college, but there was really no jobs, especially in New York. It was super difficult time. And I remember I was reading the book on the way to one of these moving jobs. Like we had just put we took this person's stuff, put it all in a van, and we were driving to New Jersey. I know, gross, right? But we were driving to New Jersey, and I was reading this book called The 4-Hour Workweek, and he was talking about making money on the internet. And at the time, this was a novel concept, right? And I was like, okay, what if I took this personal training that I had been doing since I was like 16? What if there was a way to do this online? And this was a super novel idea at the time, because, and I don't want to say that I invented online training, but I was definitely in that first class of people who helped pioneer it, right? And in the book, Tim Ferriss, he said he recommended using Google Ads to promote your product or service, whatever. But I didn't have that kind of disposable income then to put in the ads, nor did I have the skill set required at the time to run Google Ads effectively. So at the same time, or like right after, I read a book called Crush It from a dude named Gary Vaynerchuk. You guys heard of him, maybe? Yeah, okay. And and Gary's was just like, just put out a ton of content. So I was like, all right, maybe if I merge these two concepts together, I won't have to fucking work all day, every day at these labor jobs. So that's what I did, man. I bought this, I meant to bring it because I had it, but I forgot it. I went on eBay and I bought this camera it was called a flip cam. Only those of us in the late 30s or early 40s will know what this is. Yeah, this guy knows what I'm talking about. Old school, He probably was listening to Wu-Tang or Green Day on the way over here. And even better. And it's a flip cam, because this was novel because it was in HD, but it was a small camera. It was like the iPhone had just came out at the time. It didn't even copy and paste. It didn't have HD. So this is what I used to start on YouTube. And I just started putting out tons of content to promote my online training. And then it started to pick up. It started to pick up to the point where I was able to quit one job. The moving job was the first. Then I was able to quit another job. Then I was able to quit another job. And then I remember I had the last job. And it took me a long time to quit that, because I was scared. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't know what's gonna happen. Some of you guys might be in that position right now. But then I met one of my mentors. He lives out here. This dude named, or close to it. Maybe he does. You know Elliot Holtz? Anyone? Yeah. So that's how I met Ryan, through Elliot. And I met him. He became like a mentor to me. And I had, he gave me the confidence to kind of finally quit that job. And then it started to work. It started to work, basically, but it all came from content. And, I started with the one little flip cam. And then I, obviously, as technology improved, and this motherfucker's sitting down. No, it's cool. I just ain't never seen that before. I like it. As technology improved and my budget improved, I kept investing into different, equipment and later get, video guys, video editors. And over time, all based on content I was putting out, like a ton of content, I was able to, I'm skipping a lot of steps, but I was able to build like a 7-figure business, then multi-7 figures. And then last year, we got the award from ClickFunnels when you do $8 million with a funnel. So we got that. Yeah, you can clap for that. It's okay. And it's all it was all built around the content, like buying that first camera and started putting out videos in order to advertise my content. And I want to kind of give you guys the three things I learned along that way that I feel like may help you guys where you're at. Is that cool, guys? Yeah. All right. And Ryan, forgive me if this is like the opposite of anything you told them. I wasn't listening to you. All right, so number one, for me, this is where it worked for me, was volume, just high volume. I was never one of the guys who had like legit viral videos. It didn't really happen like that for me. And that was never my plan either. I read a book called The Long Tail. Is anybody familiar with that concept? So basically it's like, I'm not gonna draw it, but basically it was like, he recommended putting out tons of content instead of going for like blockbusters, right? Just putting out tons of content. And over time, the amount of views you get from the sheer volume of content will be a greater number than the few like blockbusters. That's the theory, at least. So I just put out tons of content. There was a time on YouTube, back before there was YouTube Shorts, right? It was just long form YouTube. And I was putting out 2 YouTube videos a day, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., right? Mind you, I was doing this while I still had a job, right? That was part of it. And it was just a real sickening amount of volume. I just wanted to overflow it. I just feel like with enough effort, if you put in enough effort, like failure would be impossible. That makes sense? Because I feel like most people try to do what they think is required to accomplish a goal. But I think about what would I have to do? What amount of effort would I have to put in that if I was able to do it, it would be impossible for me to fail? And that's how I went about it. So that's just a lot of volume for me, even now. Like, I'm trying to see if Ryan will, like, what's the limit? I don't know if we found it yet. It's just there's more diminishing returns on the quality end, right? But I don't know what the limit is, especially for short form content. I don't know how much is too much, right? So we just tons of volume. Now, you may be thinking, fuck, you got shit to do. You got other shit going on in your life. How can you put out that much volume, especially if you don't have a big team? I can help you with that. Does anybody have that problem? Because I could skip that. Like 8 of you. All right, well, that's cool. All the rest of you guys are super efficient with all your time. All right, so what I do, all right, if you've got a piece of paper, you can write this down. This would be helpful. Write down how many hours a week, on average, do you sleep? Like on average, so if you sleep, 8 hours a night, what's that, 56 hours a week, right? Just average. If you're wearing some sort of tracker, you can actually get the number, but just guess. Right? How many hours a week do you sleep? If you have a job or you're in school or something, how many hours a week on average do you spend doing that? Then how many hours a week do you spend, working out or doing fitness related shit? And then how many hours a week do you spend with your family and shit, right? And you add up the number, right? Add up the number and then subtract it from 168 because there's 168 hours in every week. And what you notice is you got a lot more time than you think, right? Because those are only 4 things you have to do. Everything else is kind of optional. Some assholes thinking, oh, what about showering and shit? And I'm like, the big shit, man. Like, if you're in the shower, if you're in the bathroom for 20 hours a week,
you've got problems that are beyond the scope of anything I can address here. You got to seek medical. Manage their time as well as they could. And the way I started doing this was back in the day, I was using Google Calendar, right, to actually plan out almost every hour of every day. Because I remember I'm working all these jobs and shit, and I'm still trying to put out 2 videos a day with the rest of life, right? And when you start like really using your calendar to really plan your whole day, not just when you're gonna do the content stuff, what you're gonna notice is you'll get like you'll squeeze way more time out of each day, out of each week. And then over the course of a few months, it really starts to add up. Like, let me show you, so you know I'm not bullshitting. So this is kind of what my calendar looks like. You might not be able to see it, but it's like, I try to make sure like every hour is accounted for. You know, and of course, you know, it's subject to change. I'll move stuff around, but that's how you get the most time out of each day. And then you can accomplish way more. Bruce Lee said, if you love life, don't waste time, because time is what life is made of. And, you know, if you're not living out the calendar, really trying to squeeze as much fucking success out of each day, it's gonna be difficult for you to compete at like a super high level. You know what I'm saying? Is this making sense? Right, so the amount of time you need to put out a ton of content. Remember, you gotta put out so much content that failure would be impossible, right? Not how much you think you need. Like, how much would you have to put out to make failure impossible? And what happens is you quickly understand that you're gonna need more time to do that, and really managing your time in your calendar is the only way I know to make that happen. Does this make sense? All right, so you guys should be able to get more time out of each day. Now, the other thing that volume helps with is quality. So some of you may be thinking, shouldn't it be quality over quantity? I think that quantity begets quality, right? You got to get good at it. You know what I'm saying? You got to get good at it. You got to put shit out and then get feedback from the marketplace. So you can, and the faster you can speed up that loop, that feedback loop, the faster you can get good at something. Does that make sense? Right, so you gotta just keep putting it out. If you need to get better at editing, then edit more. You know what I'm saying? If you need to get better at thinking about what to say or what to do in your videos, then do it more. It's really just like anything else. But what fucks people up, I'm sorry, there's some children here. I'm sorry. What's done is done. All right. I didn't realize it until like just now. I saw some kids. Yeah. Anyway, what slows people down, I see, because right now I teach people how to start their online fitness businesses the way I did. And what I see with my students is I tell them to put out more content. It's like, oh, I'm just worried about the quality, and I'm worried about it. It's like, yo, man, nah, you don't have to worry about it. It's gonna suck. Initially, it's gonna be trash. Just like anything else, right? Everything you're not gonna be great off the rip initially. You weren't good at anything initially. Like you see a little kid, like when my son was learning how to walk, he was falling down and shit, all over the place, embarrassing us. And but he kept doing it. He didn't give up. He was trying it every day. He had a lot of reps. He put a lot of reps in. Now he can walk, run, throw shit simultaneously. It's just volume, right? So it's the same thing. It's the same thing with like doing content. So volume will help you get more exposure, but it also help with the quality, like help you get good at stuff, right? That's why when Ryan first said, hey, I'll start a short form agency, I'm like, yeah, man, I'm not fucking with you year one of your, you gotta get good at that shit, bro. And then he beta tested on the other guys, and then he saw what worked and what didn't. Then I came in and like, all right, now it's time. Let's go. Yeah, I knew, because I knew how good could he be year one? He's not figuring that shit out with me, right? But you guys, And that's where some of you guys may be, like year one, right? And that's cool. You just got to understand that it's going to take you some time to get good at things. And you won't get a lot of views at first when you first starting. That's a good thing, because remember, you suck now. So you get to fail in private. You know what I'm saying? And then, now the second thing I learned that's helped me, and this may fly in convention to a lot of things that Ryan has told you. I don't know if he told you this, but this is the only time we butt heads. Don't do no wacky shit. You know, and what I mean by that is, don't be out here acting zany just for views. I don't know if Ryan tells you to do that or not, but you know, if it's up to Ryan, I believe initially he would have had me going like pointing TikToks, pointing that shit. You know, yup, nope. You know, he had me. I was like. But remember, we're making content to sell a product or service, right? So you can get views being a clown, but you're not gonna hire Flavor Flav for coaching, right? So people can get views acting like a clown, acting super zany or wacky, and that's cool, right? But you know, I mean, wacky shit is entertaining, but nobody wants to pay them for, you know, business shit. You get what I'm saying? Unless of course, entertainment is your goal. Like that's the product or service you're marketing, right? You know, like my son, he loves Paw Patrol. They be acting wild, acting crazy, falling down and shit, but I'm not getting them to coach me. I'm not trying to get Chase and Rubble to coach me. Right, so you gotta just keep that in mind. Like, and I'll do stuff that doesn't have to do with business, right? But there's like a line. There's a line, and you gotta find out where it is. Cause Ryan will be like, hey man, talk about your toothpaste routine, or I'm like, all right. But if you said something like super wacky or super zany, hey Brandon, do a dance for me, man. I'm like, of course not. So you gotta find that. There is I hope I'm making sense. I may not be articulating this as well as I'd like, but don't be out here hustling zany. If that's what makes sense. Like, don't make a fucking mockery of yourself if you're selling anything serious, right? You can be entertaining, but there's a point of diminishing returns with the entertainment. But also being too boring as well, right? Being too boring, that may be some people's problem too. And you might have a natural disposition, you might naturally be too boring, and you might compensate with the zany. Next thing you know, you out here acting all wacky to get views. But it's like, it's not views over everything. You know, you got to think at what cost, right? I'm thinking like, you know, I'm still from the streets, man. There might be somebody, I'm doing some wacky shit. Somebody, oh, Brandon's got soft. Now it's time. This is what we've been waiting for. Y'all may not share those same exact concerns, but some of the old ops may be like, yeah, he fell off. Soft now. Much to their chagrin, that's not the case, right? All right, and then number three, this is the advanced part, is put money behind your shit. Once it starts making money, reinvest. Either it could reinvest in equipment and staff, but you know, I started running ads, right? Running ads, not for growth, but for conversions. You know, we spend millions on actual like ads, Google ads, Facebook ads, Instagram, TikTok. And the reason that's powerful is because once you got good at making videos, you're not now, right? You're not now. But once you get good at making videos, then you start running ads, then it's like pouring gasoline on fire, right? You already got something going and you can make money organically, and then you pour gas on that. So, for example, our YouTube ads. Last month we got a 3.4x ROAS on YouTube. right? For those of y'all who don't know, it's like every dollar we put in YouTube ads, we make $3.4, right? How many dollars did you put in? Shit, as much as you can find, borrow, or steal, right? Like, that's what we doing. And that's what we doing. And but the reason is twofold. One, we have so much content that one of the reasons it's so successful is we're able to retarget people who watched those videos. And this may be above some people's heads, but retargeting means you can basically show ads to people who watch some of my organic videos. So now it's not showing it to cold audience. Does that make sense? Right? And those ads are just like way more profitable than the cold, right? I mean, we do cold advertising too, but imagine if you don't have to, right? So that's why I was always successful at running ads initially, because I had so much volume, which goes to step one, and we had such a large pool of people to market to. Just show the advertisement to the people who already watched it, right? And who runs ads here? Is this a lot of agencies? Yeah, all right, cool. So you guys know, man, you know, especially on different platforms, some platforms you need different creatives more often than others, right? I feel like we need new ads for TikTok almost weekly, right? But you know, gone are the days when you can like let one ad run for fucking years. At least that hasn't been our experience. Like when my boy Ty said here in my garage, that shit ran for fucking years, but I haven't seen that yet, right? So you have to keep coming up with new ads. The volume at first is what helps you get good at the ads. Is this making sense? So it comes full circle, and then you can do retargeting, and it really, for us, that's what really took us from like just low seven figures to multiple seven figures a year, was when I started really going heavy on the ads. But to be clear, without spending any ads, we were making any money on ads, we were making seven figures just off organic content, organic traffic, if you know how to monetize it. All right. Does anybody have any questions? I don't know, Ryan. How long do you want me to stay up here? I can stay here the rest of the day, or okay.
Can you break down how they can sell on their Instagram?
What?
Tell them how to sell on their Instagram.
Sell what? I'm fucking with you. Okay, he says how to sell on Instagram. There's multiple methods. What I like to do. All right, I'm gonna teach you guys. Can I teach you one thing? One way to sell on Instagram. This one made us. Real quick, are there any math whizzes or Asians here? What's 75%? What's 70% of 5 million? 3.5 million. All right, so this made us about 3.5 million last year. Not last year, I mean 2022. All right? So this was something I called a flex pitch. Some of y'all who are some people here in my HET program, right? I know Christina, just her. All right, y'all. It's for trainers, right? So, all right, so I call this the flex pitch. And the way you guys may not be able to see it, that sucks. All right. And the reason it's called the flex pitch. Okay, before I get into this, right? You ever see somebody who's like promoting on their story, and it's every time you go on their story, you know it's gonna be, they're gonna try to sell you something, or there's gonna be some call to action. Has anybody ever seen this, right? And you kind of don't want to go on their story no more, right? This is how you can promote on your story every day, without giving people that feeling, right? So the flex pitch, it starts with something I call, so this can be, I don't know, anywhere between one to 5 slides or whatever, right? 1 to 5, and I call this the DHV. So DHV is basically like, it stands for demonstration of high value, right? So you can do something, you're doing something cool. You're starting off doing something cool or interesting or helpful. So for my students who are personal trainers, I was like, man, maybe show them like your workout routine for the day. Or maybe show them how to prepare the meals you're doing today. Give them something helpful. It should be something. Sorry, it should be something that's helpful or just awesome, right? Some badass, something cool, right? Demonstration of high value. Then you have some sort of transition. That stands for transition. We're not getting political. It's not, right? Just abbreviation. And right, this is where you want to transition. This can be like one slide, and then you go into what I call. Then you go in your testimonials. This is abbreviations, not testosterone, but it might be, right? Then you go testimonials, right? So what's happening is you bring them in, right? You're doing something cool, something awesome, and then you have some sort of transition. I'll explain what this means so it makes sense. Then you go into testimonials from your clients or whoever you're working with, right? Or customers. And then you have a call to action. Right? Then you have a call to action, CTA, right? That's where you get the fucking money, get that paper. And then you go back, you do this once a day, almost every 24 hours. I have something like that on my story. Matter of fact, I'm doing, okay, I'll show you one. So this makes sense. I'm, the one I have doesn't have the testimonials, the one that's on my story now. But I'm gonna show you, I'm doing a joint venture webinar with this real estate dude. And I'll show you what this looks like real quick. You might not be able to see it. Hold on.
Rolls Royce, damn, this thing is beautiful.
So we got the DHV, right? We got the DHV. He just bought a new Rolls Royce Phantom, right? So we're going through the Rolls Royce.
My man Tom just walked in.
And he's about to,
All right, guys, the 2024 Rolls Royce Phantom.
basically he's just gonna give a tour of this fucking $700,000 car. So right now it's a demonstration of high value, right there. People are in it. They think they're just watching something cool, right? They know they're in a commercial. They don't even know it yet, right?
Like 18 months for it. It is in Galileo bespoke blue.
Blah, blah, blah.
Of course, you have the door controls here that close all the doors automatically.
Now we don't have the CTA on this one. I'm sorry, we don't have the testimonials on this one. So just imagine it was there. Hey, but check it out. Here's how we do the transition into the CTA. So the transition and the CTA are one slide. So let's watch.
So Tom, some people watching this, they're thinking, hey man, I want to be able to buy multiple Rolls Royces. Like you, how did you get the money to do this? Guys, this is all done through Section 8. I started buying properties, mostly
Basically, we're gonna tell them to get on the webinar. Right, you know what I'm saying? So instead of just, what a fucking amateur would do is just this slide. But we made it like a reality show. Is this making sense? So I try to have something like this every day. And then I go back into just doing cool shit. So I post shit on my story all day, every day that's cool and interesting, like it's a reality show. But I'm only doing it so I can do this later. So my story is not just, it doesn't look like I'm just selling you, right? So it's like for example, I try to think of my story like a reality show, and then we have commercial breaks. Does that make sense? And this is like the smoothest way I know to do it. Because if I just say, hey man, sign up for this fucking real estate webinar, yeah, but you know, I give you a tour of a $700,000 car, it's a little more compelling. Does that make sense? Right. That's one of the methods. We use this every day for fucking years. I think this dude had his hand up for a question, or nah?
Do like 2 questions.
All right, this guy, I saw this guy first.
So all we need is a Rolls Royce and we can sell.
It helps, you know. In the absence of $700,000 automobiles, you can do other things, right? So, for example, it depends on what you're selling, right? But it really doesn't matter. So I teach people how to start their online training business. So a real simple one is just, hey man, here's my fucking arm workout. And they show, hey, 5 sets of this, 6 sets of that. maybe give them some advice on how that works. And then that's the DHV. Then the transition will be like, and this helps me build a lot of size on my arms, but it didn't just work for me, it worked for a lot of my clients, right? Then they show some of their clients, maybe a few slides of their clients' testimonials. Then they go into the then they go into the CTA. Hey, if you guys want some help with accomplishing goals similar to that, send me a DM with the word blah, 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 and with the word arms, right? And then you respond to everybody who sends a DM. You try to get them on calls. That's what we teach. Try to get them on calls. Nah, man. I mean, you could. I heard people doing it, but I don't think AI is that great yet. At least the tools I've seen, right? It sounds like a robot, So I have a guy that I pay. I just paid to answer my DMs, put people on calls. But I've seen people have success with like different AI tools, with ManyChat or stuff like that. But I like a real person.
Do you give that guy access through Facebook, or do you give him through Instagram?
I just give him my password. Like, what's he gonna do? Like, if he tries to change the password or steal it, they're gonna send me a text message to verify it. He can't just do it. You know what I'm saying? And he know you don't want no motherfucking beef with me over some shit like that. It's like he know me well enough to know that that's like, I don't know, maybe if he was going on like a suicide mission or he was if he was like a kamikaze. But, you try to hire people with something to lose, something to live for. And typically you don't have to worry about that as much. One
more question.
Sorry. What's up?
So my question is going to be about like your conversion and sales process on the back end. So you're just trying to get everyone on a sales call. I'm like, what does your sales team look like, and how do you enroll people in your program?
Yeah. Well, so here's what I do, and I'm not saying it's the best way or the only way, but this is what we've done. So for us, they're either coming from organic, or they're coming from an ad. And what happens is, what we do is we get people either onto, they either go to an application, or they're talking to my guy in a DM, and he's asking them the questions that would be on the application. And maybe there's a more effective way to do that using some sort of AI tools and shit, but I ain't found one that was good enough to replace a real human yet. We'll see what happens going forward. But I like a real person in there. And then they go from the application. We do a 10-minute call, right? Now, here's the thing. Okay, 10-minute call, and then they go down to a 60-minute call. Right? Because I'm gonna be asking for a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? And it's difficult. It's difficult, not impossible, but difficult to go straight from application straight to one call and ask for like a significant amount of money. But what we notice is this warms them up more, right? For example, they come through an ad or organic, right? Then they fill out an application. So they're coming to us, right, with the application or hollering at me on a DM. And what this does is it puts my salespeople in, it changes the frame, right? You get what I'm saying? Because my guys ain't doing cold calls. They're not doing much outreach. Everybody has to come to them. Because the way a customer enters a sales call is just as important as what happens on the call. You know what I'm saying? It's like if you're going out to a bar, right, and whether you going up to a girl, hey, or a girl coming up to you, like what do you have to, what's going to work best for you, right? If she comes to you, right? So that's how we set it up for them. And then they get on a 10-minute call because our guys, our clientele is about at least 80% guys. I only have girls doing the 10-minute calls. That's just a thing that we do to increase. We just noticed it increases show rate, And the calls are via Zoom. So, you know, we make sure they have like lights and we tell them to you know, be as presentable as possible. You know what I'm saying? And plus, well, we notice those guys, they're not gonna, the script I wrote for them, the script I wrote for these girls is they have to like prove themselves, right? So what makes you want to do this? Are you sure it's something you do? This is a lot of work. Are you sure that you got what it takes to like, really? And what's he gonna say to this like girl? What's he gonna say? He's gonna say, no, I'm a bitch, man, I'm soft. Right? So he's kissing her ass, right? And then she puts him on the call with, and if she thinks he's qualified, she puts him on the call with my closers, and then the closers, you know, I don't even want to tell you our close rate because I told somebody you know, what I showed him like my closer data. He ain't believe it because it was too high, and I was like, "Do you do all the shit I do?" No, shut the fuck up. So I don't know when to say it, but it's like super high because it's set up for them. Like I didn't want to rely on my closers to be super badasses. I wanted to set it up so it's more like layups for them. And this is the strategy that we found that works best. Oh, and in between this call and this call, they have to watch a 90-minute video. And there's some real dope shit happening in that video. I wish I had time to go into it. But they might see another 20 testimonials from my like satisfied students in that video. And they have to watch that video to get on this call. Like if they don't watch the whole video, then my guys won't take the call.
How do you check that they watch the whole video?
Huh? Oh, because there's a quiz in the video. There's like a test they have to take. And they have to bring their numbers to this guy. And if they don't have those numbers, he's like, oh man, you ain't watched the video, bro. You know what I'm saying? Fuck is you doing? You know, we're gonna have to reschedule this. Are you even serious about this, man? Like this is real. Right. So they gotta watch that whole quiz, the whole video. And it's cool because the quiz kind of tells them where they need the most. They tell themselves where they need the most help in, right? So my guys know exactly what to do when they get on a call. So I just try to make it as easy as possible for my sales guys, because if you got to rely on fucking badass salespeople, now you're dependent on them. And if one of them leaves, starts getting crazy or dies, then what, right? You got to train somebody over again. So I want it to be all these roles I can like throw people in there as fast as possible because it's set up to win. Does that make sense? There's more to it than that, but that's the gist of it.
From that 10-minute call to the close, is that all in one sitting, or is it?
Nah, this can be 1 week or 2 weeks. You know, here's the thing. You don't hear like people talking about me saying, "Oh, Brandon's scamming, Brandon's doing all this shit," because our whole shit is based around. Like we want to prolong the sales process. We want them chasing us, right? And we want to tell them how difficult it is. So even in my advertising, I'm telling them, hey man, it's gonna be really difficult. It's not good for you, you lazy. This may be the hardest thing you ever done in your life, right? Where I feel like the guys who get called scammers, they say, man, it's gonna be fun and easy, and you know, you can make all this money super quick. And even if their program's not a scam, the customer goes in with like expectations with different expectations. Like I want my people coming in with the expectations that this is gonna be super difficult, you know? And that way when it is difficult, because making money is difficult, right? It's not easy, right? I tell them the truth. You get less buyer's remorse. Does that make sense? I don't want people coming in because they're all excited. You know what I'm saying? I want them to really have thought about it and they know it's gonna be difficult and they know they gotta prove themselves to themselves. They gotta prove to themselves that they're tough enough to take on this challenge. So that I want them to think about that. And so we deliberately slow down the process for that reason. Does that make sense? It's because I'm thinking about retention and long-term and also my reputation as well, right? I could probably make more upfront money if I was like, hey man, it's super easy, right? But it's not reality. I can't say that with integrity. Brian tried to kick me off. Hey man.
That guy didn't have his hand up for a really long time, so if you can get with Brandon after, I know you want to Give him his answer. Hurry up.
What? So my salespeople are only former students. You know, at least the ones who do the 60s. They're only former students. And the reason I do that, because the same way I teach my students to sales, the same way I teach my sales, so I don't have to train them as hard. They already trained. They paid to get trained. And, and they believe in the product. So a lot of times it's, for some of the guys, like the last two guys I hired, they like doing the sales in the business, but then it's like, if it's your business, you just gave yourself a fucking job, right? But but if you're doing sales for someone else, it's like, oh, you don't really have to give a fuck what happens. I remember when I was first building the business, I used to fantasize about like selling used fucking Nissans or some shit, because I don't have to worry about the advertisement. I don't care. That car could blow up when it leaves the lot. And that's the fucking Johnny Nissan's problem. Man, he got to worry about that, not me. You know? But when you have your own business, you got to worry about everything. You know what I'm saying? And you got you guys know, I don't have to tell y'all. So they realize that and say, hey man, I just want to do the most fun part. But they still might have some clients on the side. Like one of my sales guys, he made 20 grand from his business last month, but he still like takes calls from me too, just because ain't no such thing as extra money, you know.
Well, if I get a standing round of applause for Brandon.
You can't ask for a standing ovation.
I did.
No,
If you like this presentation, subscribe to the channel because I'm going to be posting all the presentations from the Attention Summit. Peace.